a deep breath and remember who you are. Yeah, they're gonna mess with you, baby, you're a star. Stepping in the spotlight, you know that it feels right. Time to put up a fight, honey. Got nothing left to lose, so let's start right now. Everybody want a piece of you. Gotta give them what they want, it's true. You're symphonic, yeah, so iconic. If you didn't know before, now you know. Now you know. Take a big step away from who you were. Flashing that smile and the whole world's a blur. Dancing in the limelight, oh you're on in the night. Looking fresh, looking tight, honey. Yeah, you got 'em hanging on your every word right now.
Positively powerful, looking fresh, looking tight, right from the words of our song singer person. And I'm with Stacey Steinmiller. My name is Scott Fitzgerald, and we're doing our live stream Boogie Woogie today.
Boogie Woogie.
I want to go back to this picture real quick and say, hey, can we change the photo? Because that's 45 pounds heavier me. And
I need another one.
I need
a thinking one. I need one with your hand on your head. Okay. Yeah, there you go.
What about this one?
Dr. Evil.
Throw me a bone here. So today I want to talk Leggo my ego. We talk about the ego quite a bit, just because it's a prominent subject. It's a prominent factor, excuse me, in the things that we discuss. And I don't think enough people understand it. I know I don't understand it well enough. If you were to ask me what's the ego, I'd say the ego is when I say I'm awesome and you suck. Or the ego is something that doesn't allow me to admit when I'm wrong, or the ego doesn't allow me to, be vulnerable or whatever. And so, but I'm listening to, because, whoops, sorry about that. I don't want to enable diction. I'm listening to an audiobook because, I'm an audiobook fiend. And I'm listening to the last law of attraction book you'll ever need to read by Andrew Capp. And I'm not, I was not looking for a law of attraction book, but it just sort of popped out and I was like, yeah, let's give that one a shot. And it was only 4 hours, which on Audible,
It's short.
It's short. I kind of like to pick things that are like, at least 11 hours or longer. So I'm getting my money's worth. But I was like, forget it. I had an extra credit anyway. And so he did a chapter about the ego, which I thought was really interesting. And his, well, first of all, I want to get your summation of the ego. What is the ego to you? And when you help others like myself, how does the ego come into play a lot?
Yeah. Well, when you were talking, the thing that popped into my head was more like Eckhart Tolle, which I know that's my mind keeps going there recently.
No, I know. And he's next on my list.
I know. Sorry. There's just like a real strong association in my brain and I can't, it's just there still. So what came to my mind is identification with form. So if you identify with any form, that would be ego. Whereas, other than formless. So it's form identity would be ego is how I would summarize it.
And that's kind of abstract for me. I need help with that.
Yeah. So that's anything. I am the body. I identify as my thought forms, emotions, anything.
My physical self.
Yes. Yep. Anything that we see as separate. So ego is an identification in separateness.
Okay.
That's how I look at it now versus like like, you know, when you said like what you came in, that's more of the normal how we use it. But then when you get more into the spirituality stuff and the stuff that you're diving into now, then it kind of gets into a little bit different of a definition.
Well, Andrew Cap in this book that I'm listening to, he talks about the ego as your self-preservation, like
Mhm.
fight or flight type of thing, where it's like your ego is just there to keep you from dying, essentially. He
Yeah.
simplifies it down to that. So
Yeah.
when anytime you want to do something that's um gonna change things, because right now your ego is working at keeping you alive, so everything you're doing is the status quo, and anything you're doing outside of the status quo, like if you're changing your mindset, or if you're changing, if you're doing auto suggestion or anything like that, your ego is like, wait, you're doing something different that could kill us. We don't want to die, so don't do it.
Yeah.
That's his sort of simple. And I was gonna try. I didn't find enough quotes or any quotes. I forgot to do that. So that's my bad. I was gonna try to get some quotes because he says more. I mean, I think it's a whole chapter. He says a lot more about it that resonated with me, and it kind of helped me to understand the concept of ego when it comes to manifestation and
Yeah.
mindset and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
so you know, basically it's telling you, it's trying to protect you from making any changes that it perceives would cause you harm, and anything that's outside of the status quo can cause you harm. I mean, it's that kind of simplified. Like, don't
Yeah.
you don't want, if you're trying to manifest money, right? It says no, you don't want to manifest a lot of money, because who knows, and this is an example he uses, who knows if there's going to be some cyber stalker who's going to try to kill you to get your money. I mean, he's
Right.
making a silly example, but that's kind of where he goes with it. What are your thoughts
Totally.
on that?
Yeah. And it's because the ego will do anything to keep itself alive. And so,
Yeah.
since it comes from separateness, it needs to keep coming up with fears, so that it stays relevant. Because then, otherwise, the ego is no longer relevant. And that's where you have like the ego death or dissolving of the ego and things like that, when you move into a energy of oneness, or a divine identity or whatever from there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Do you see any good when it comes to the ego? Like, what are the positive aspects of the ego,
I mean,
if
well,
any? If any.
yeah, and that's the thing too. I think it's also important not to villainize it, because then we don't have a seeking for oneness if we're not identified in ego. Right? So so unity, the feeling of unity, comes from a belief that you're separate. And so you can't have the reunification if there's not a separateness. And we live in duality. So that's just the like dimension, or however you want to look at it, that we're on. So it has to be here, and it's here, and that's okay. Um, but having more awareness around it is helpful for life, I think. So it's not bad. It just is. It's we, so it's not to remove yourself from it completely, because we're humans and we live in duality, and all that's okay.
Yeah, that the oneness that you talk about, like finding that connection to that um infinite power,
Mhm.
is something that I've been trying to focus on lately. And in this book he goes into the whole, pretty much everything that's already in that if you know about the law of attraction, all of this stuff, when he's talking about uh vibrations, and
Yeah.
your thoughts are vibrations, thoughts are things, that kind of thing. Um, and the ego, how the ego will oftentimes cast the doubt
Yeah.
that is in there, that which is almost, in my mind, from the traditional definition of the ego, would be like a reverse ego, because it'd be like, you're
Yes.
not good enough, which is not what you would traditionally think ego would be. Ego, you would think, would be going, oh yeah, no, I'm good enough and I'm going to get that. And it's the opposite, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, it's still around an identity of specialness. And there's a fear of vulnerability there, right? So it's like I can only be seen if I'm good enough. So if I, like I have to, it's still a belief that I can be hurt or harmed in any way. So there's still some sort of ego identity that you're still not in your power. But yeah, it's just presenting a bit differently than, that standard ego, more like arrogant, full of yourself
Right.
definition when we think about it. Yeah.
Go back to episode whatever when we talked about that. I don't remember when that was. 5 episodes ago? Who knows?
We could make it up.
Yeah. Episode 304B. Go look for that one. Try to find it. But in this journey of trying to manifest things, and trying to manifest not even just things, but betterness, as a human being, that's kind of where I've transformed in a way. Because before, my law of attraction dabbling in that was always like, I want a truck, I want a boat, I want lots of money, I want, this and that, and focusing on it, and I'm grateful for it, and that's all good and fine and stuff. But I think the quicker route to get to those things is to focus on yourself. How can I be better in my day, in my everyday? How can I help people? And sometimes you're limited in what you can do to help people. And other people have, amazing resources to help people, and they choose not to, which, is beyond me. I don't get that. But I think when you go that route of trying to just simplify it by being just, I want to be a better human being, I think you get closer to that oneness, to that infinite power.
Yeah.
And then,
because you're coming from service, from a place of service. And then, like you said, the law of attraction, you attract what you are or who you are, not what you want necessarily, so it's more about, like I said, raising your own vibration, and then you put that energy out, and then that's what is matched back to
I've
you.
always wanted to know, how, like, these jerk offs do so well. You know what I mean? Like, you're just complete terrible people, and they're assholes, and they're rude to people, and they step on the old lady to make $1, and they're like super successful. Where do they get theirs? They get theirs in the spirit world. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, when does that come back to them?
Yeah, they're still building. You can still build in the 3D world. Like, you can still build in, I guess, those other ways. But there comes, karmic cost to that. Whether that comes out now or in their next life, or however you want to look at it.
That's not fair. That's not fair. But I guess it's
that's
kind
what
of
the ego says.
right. I think it's kind of maybe it is kind of soothing in a way to think, well, he's going to come back as a dung beetle or whatever. I don't know. Something, or and I don't like to wish this on anyone, even if they are a dirtbag. But they're going to come back in their next life and just, now I'm getting sidetracked because I'm thinking about this. Would the karmic cost bring them back in a terrible life, or would it bring them back specifically in a life where they're either forced to or compelled to serve?
Yeah, I don't know, right? I mean, I don't know. There could be a lot of different things, but it's more about looking at like your own reaction to that, right? Like, oh, that's not fair, and this and that. And what I really can be really powerful is like a loving kindness meditation, a meta
Mm.
meditation. May you be happy, may you be free, of suffering, may you be healthy, etc. And usually it starts with like yourself, a loved one, and then you move to society as a whole. And one of the hardest ones is like maybe towards your enemy, having loving kindness towards those people who you have those like negative feelings towards. And because their salvation, for lack of a better word, is still, you still want that, right? So if you kind of believe in, oneness and raising the vibration as a collective, you're still going to want that for somebody who you even, see as doing terrible things, right?
Right. So going back to ego, um, what are some ways that you advise people in order to, one, recognize when their ego is getting in their way, and two, try to change that?
Yeah. So usually we maybe like a feeling of stuckness or like spinning your wheels or feeling like the answer is out here, or it's like just as soon as I can get this thing or as soon as this happens, then I'll feel better. I think those are like big signs that like your ego is kind of running the show. Um, because you're not in your deep place of power in those moments.
So the if then kind of things, like I'll be
Yeah.
happy when I achieve this, as opposed
Yes.
to I'm already
Yeah.
happy, or my happiness comes from
Right.
within kind of thing.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I think that's probably one of the easiest ones that we probably get sidetracked into every day. Like I hear this from people all the time, even just little things. Oh, once this is done, once that's done, once this is done, then
Yeah.
I'll, right. Yeah. Um, and it's probably the most common where people get really tripped up. Right and wrong. Things should be this way and not that way. Yeah, getting really caught up on how things should be versus how they are. Is another big one.
And your
What's
and
the
your
other?
suggestions, obviously, like one of the big things I've been working on is just trying to recognize when those
Mhm.
feelings are taking over, and because they
Yeah.
become so commonplace that you don't recognize it. You're like, oh, da
Yeah.
da da, and then you go, wait a second, this is not my place of power.
Yeah.
Or my favorite thing that you say, it's like, this is what story are you telling yourself? Like,
Hmm.
what's the
Hmm.
story that's going on?
Yeah.
So so recognizing it, and then what are some practices for people?
Yeah.
Mantras, meditations. I mean, it all, it's the M's of
Oh,
manifesting.
yeah, there's so many things you can do. I'm always big on find what works for you. I think I've shared before. I know like we talk about going for walks and you've shared about this, we've talked about that here. I like, moving your body, dancing, anything around helping you to come within and into your own life force energy and having a relationship with that. So are you able to feel within yourself? Are you able to get in there? Um, if not, then there's a big blockage there, and you have to like work into just feeling your own energy. Um, so that's probably one of the most important things to do.
And what would you say to someone who needs like has a loved one, and they can see that they're stuck in that mode?
Mhm.
Um, this is something that I've had some experience with, where I don't want to say that I'm enlightened, but I have learned a lot. Um, and so I can recognize when certain people are not in their power, and when
Mhm.
there's that block, and when all that stuff is happening, and I really want to help them, but I also don't want to, get up all in their business and tell them what to do, and I think that some people need to work it out on their own. But
Mhm.
how would you delicately make those suggestions to people, like, I don't even like, because
Yeah.
sometimes if you were to go, you're not in your power, they'd be like, shut up. Yeah.
Right.
F
Yeah.
you.
Yep.
So what would you
Yeah.
do? What would you do if your really good friend was stuck in that way? Now, obviously, anyone who's good friends with you is going to know that you're going to come up with that, but for the average
Yeah.
person, what would you say?
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways. You can always ask if, like, do you want support on this or do you want advice on it? You can always ask them directly. Um, One big thing I think that's always helpful is to not identify with their victim mentality and see their true self beyond that, and talk to that part of them instead of talking to their victim identity that they're in. So I often do that. I'll just talk beyond. I think we talked about this recently, actually. Like, I'll talk beyond and just see the person as capable and able. And I don't buy into the illusions that they're not capable. But that's mostly what I do.
Yeah, because I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure you did that with me.
I did that with you, yeah, like a week or two ago. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well,
Um,
that's interesting because let's see, what does Paul say here? Fixing you will not fix me, but that's compassionate to recognize that in them. That's the part that where you're treading on, you know, thin ice or whatever. When you that's why I said, I don't want to get up into people's business and be like
mhm.
presume to be able to help them solve their problems, and a lot of
Right.
times they need to get through it themselves. But I like that. I like your approach, which is like speaking past that, speaking to their power and not their
Yeah.
victim mentality.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Oftentimes I will change the subject and talk about. I guess it's the same thing that you're talking about. I will talk about like good things that they do, or
Mm.
how they crush it in some other thing, and be like, oh well,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? Look what you just did, and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. And sometimes that'll help them get out of it. But I tell you what, though, being in, sometimes you are just so stuck in that mood. You know that
Mhm.
mood, that
Yeah,
mood,
I know that. I know it really well.
that
Trust me.
mood where that mood is just like,
Yeah.
it's all bull crap. Nothing's gonna work. That.
Yeah.
Um,
Right. So there's nothing you can say or do that, you know, so it's okay. So if you feel like you need to, then that's about you. Then it's like, what's going on in me? Why do I feel like I need to fix this or change this person or give them their advice or
hmm.
whatever? Like that's a me problem, not a them problem,
Is it a
right?
problem though?
If you feel like distraught about it, right?
If you're distraught about their distraughtness,
Yeah,
is that a
right.
word?
Yeah. Like if
Distress.
yeah. Exactly, which a lot of people are, and they're all worried and this and that, and but yeah, I think seeing people in their power and trusting, and I just trust my intuitive voice of whatever comes to me at the time. I just say whatever pops into my head, which could be it's different for different people at different
Yeah.
times. So it's
Yeah.
hard to say like, here's this one thing. And I know everybody out there, all the self-help it says, say this exact thing. I think that's all bullshit. Like, okay, that might work for some people, but whatever. But it still is kind of speaking to this need to fix or save other people at the end of the day. And then that's more something we have to ask ourselves.
Huh.
Yeah.
I saw it as coming from a place of service, but I can see what you mean. Well, there are some people who feel like it's their job to save everyone or fix
Mhm.
everyone, or
Mhm.
um yeah,
Yeah.
and that
And a
that could be a problem.
discomfort So that happens a lot too, like prior, especially, as a therapist working with suicidal ideation and so forth. A lot of helpers get really freaked out, um, from it, and a lot of pressure and or distraughtness of like, oh, I can't handle, it's like an emotional, I can't handle hearing this. Um, and then so it's almost like a reaction, like a negative reaction, like I have to get you out of this because this is not okay, but it's like their own emotional distress tolerance is low. So yeah,
So
that
I don't,
comes up.
I don't know if we necessarily broke down the ego as I put in the description.
Sorry. Got a little sidetracked.
Well, no, I mean that's what we do. We should call this positively sidetracked, but powerful tangents. um, but I just thought it was important. The biggest takeaway from our little chat this morning would be to understand the role the ego plays in your day to day, on your
Mm-hmm.
path to manifestation, on your path to a greater self. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and recognize, like, be able to recognize it and be able to either, well, what would be the best way to say this? I don't want to say overcome it, but utilize it, channel it. Um,
Yeah, or just so when you were talking, the word control, I think is what comes to mind,
okay,
so kind
yeah.
of recognizing when you're trying to control or contour or force or whatever, and then the thing to do is to let go.
So control is really, that's really the key word when it comes to
Yeah,
ego. The ego is trying to control,
yes,
and
yep.
probably one of the biggest things that I like, the biggest aha moments that I've had in the last 8 months or so has been letting go of the
Mhm,
things that I know I have no control over,
mhm. Yep,
and
yep,
not, and not fretting about that. I'm trying to teach my kids the same thing. And I'm
yeah,
like, you can't, and that even comes to other people, like, oh, this guy's being such a jerk at work and this and that. And I'm like, can't control him. You can, I
right,
mean, if he's being like, disruptive or whatever, you can go talk to the manager or something like that. But it's like,
right,
if this person comes in and they're just a jerk, just stay away from them,
yeah, yeah,
or tell them, stop being a jerk or I'm going to kick your ass, because that's
right.
that's
That
uh that's
works
good
too.
workplace behavior, right?
That's perfect.
Smack them with a hanger. So what
Right.
do you got? What's coming up for you? You got anything
Mm.
cool coming up with Radical Life Coach?
Question. Yeah, it's a good question. I was just thinking actually, we're doing a book again. It's been a bit. I did what, the four agreements, I don't know, a
Yeah,
couple months ago. It's like
yeah.
me trying to grab the book with a bunch of stuff I have on top of it. So September, we're taking 3 weeks to go through the War of Art, break through the blocks and win your inner creative battles.
Mm,
So that is coming up. So it's broken into 3 sections on resistance.
nice.
Um, so I think that'll be really fun. So that's coming up. In my other group, we just had our Virgo new moon call. We set new intentions and we're working through that through the month. And then we have our weekly group coaching.
I am
And
going
that's
to.
amazing.
I'm going
That's amazing.
to. So I, just because I'm not a reader anymore.
Mhm.
What is that book called again? The
The War
War
of
of
Art
Art. There it
by
is.
Stephen
Stephen
Pressfield.
Pressfield.
What are you giggling about?
Because it's in my library. It's in
Oh,
my it's in my
because
Audible library. You probably
probably
you
because of me, because I put that we're doing
yeah,
that. I think I posted this a while ago. I was like, I don't
that's
feel like doing this in the summer. Let's wait till September. So
that's
that's why I pushed it
hilarious.
out.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to download that because I want to take part in that. I think that's really coming from working in a creative field and always
Yeah.
kind of trying to reach my inner creative self. I have been complaining for the last forever about creative block. Like, I had some stories that I wanted to write, maybe short films or even feature films, and I just couldn't get it done. I have a whole bunch of like 25-minute scripts, that are all these different stories. And I'm like, maybe I can put them all together and make them vignettes. No, it doesn't work that way. So, yeah, I'm interested in taking part of that. Well,
Yeah.
radicallifecoach.com for anybody who's interested in that. Stacey is a game changer and the group is awesome. It's filled with a bunch of people who are, going through similar things that you are and trying to understand the same things. So it's a great community because everybody's helping each other and celebrating our wins. And it's you have your kind of your own built-in cheerleading squad, which is really cool and very useful. So yeah, this was fun as usual. And I will end. I don't know why I can never find the damn song.
Take a deep
There it is.
breath and remember who you are.
So anyway, radicallifecoach.com for Stacey, rockfox.com for podcasting and audiobooks. We're starting a new audiobook next week. That's going to be fun. And we'll see you next Wednesday on the Positively Powerful Show. Ciao.
Everybody want a piece of you. Gotta give them what they want, it's true. You're so funny, yeah, so iconic. If you didn't know before, now you know.